Good morning. Welcome to Chalice Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community of diverse beliefs and experiences, nurturing the liberal religious spirit and united by our desire to grow in love and in service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your life's journey, you are welcome here. Whether you gather with us every Sunday, once or twice a year, or are with us this morning for the first time, we are glad you are here. If you are here in the chapel or participating on Zoom, we are grateful that you have joined us in worship. I'm Julia Fogel, the worship associate today. A little later, I will be joined by Roddy Biggs, our guest worship leader. They will be joining us via live streaming on Zoom. Our worship musician this morning is Tim McKnight, and our song leader is Suzanne Delzio. Our tech team is Sarah Comic, Hope Campbell, and Dean Gadet. I have passed a rapid test this morning, so you will see me at the pulpit without my mask on. For those of us here in the chapel, you will notice that we have the windows open. This is to ensure good circulation in the room. There are also 4 air purifiers in the room. Please feel free to leave the chapel at any time if you are uncomfortable for any reason. You will be able to hear what is happening in the chapel while you are outside on the courtyard. For those of you using Zoom, please notice that on your Zoom menu is the chat button. You are welcome to use the chat box during the service. Just please be sure that when you post, you've opened the little blue menu to select everyone so that everyone can see what's being shared. We are always delighted to see both online and in-person newcomers joining us in worship. As a newcomer, you might be interested in the groups and activities that we offer. A good way to get this information is through our email newsletter and the e-news calendar. For online newcomers, toward the end of the service, there will be a link in the online chat box for adding your name to our email list. In-person newcomers, if you haven't already given us your email when you signed in, please share it before you leave. Our weekly email is the best way to get information about the many groups and activities we offer here at Chalice. Now, let us take a breath together.
We acknowledge that our service is taking place on the stolen territory of the Kumeyaay, meaning humans or people, and the Payamkawishim, meaning Western people. A land acknowledgement works to undo the intentional erasure of Indigenous people and to support the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people have shown. We acknowledge the original inhabitants as a first and critical step toward learning and working with Indigenous communities to secure meaningful partnership and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and sacred homeland.
Now we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I invite June Bailey forward to light our chalice this morning. Our chalice lighting words are by the Reverend Florence Caplow. In recognition of Labor Day, we light this flame to honor all work, including the work of our hands and backs, in gratitude for all the labors that support our world, and for those who boldly continue the work of justice, equity, and peace. Thank you, Tim, for that soul-soothing music. That was lovely. Our call to worship this morning comes from Gretchen Haley. It was delivered at the General Assembly Sunday morning worship service on June 26, 2022. Come now, across platforms and practices, to declare with joy our resilience, to proclaim on purpose, we have survived the pandemics of our time. We have survived. We are surviving. We have pivoted, and we have planned, and then replanned, and then thrown all plans to the wind. In this circle, we will say without shame, some days we lost our way and our passwords, and we have not always been our best selves. We are learning, and not always quickly, to regroup and remember perfection was never the point. We are here because we long to try again, to promise with people to be partners in this long-haul work of loving and becoming, even while we grieve also the cost, which is not small and lingers in our hearts and turns only sometimes to rage. Here, let your body tell the truth. Shake free the stories that live in your skin. Breathe in your beauty and breathe out your burdens. Breathe in our beauty and breathe out our burdens. Be here with it all, with all of us, in the freedom of this new day. The storm is passing over, the sun is breaking through, this new day dawns for us all. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit to join in singing.
We are building a new way. We are building
Our Sunday worship is the shared spiritual practice of our community, and we tend to the congregation during this time by sharing and honoring our joys and sorrows. Here in the chapel, you are welcome to write your joy or sorrow on a candle card, which June will collect from you. Online, please write your joy or sorrow, including your name, and press enter to send it to the chat. These joys and sorrows will be spoken out loud, and then we will remove this part of the service from the recording that goes on our YouTube channel. So no one will be able to publicly view this sharing online. We have a few minutes of music so that you can write down what you would like to share. We light a final candle for all the joys and sorrows that go unshared and unspoken this morning. We hold these too in the love and support of this community. And now, please welcome to our pulpit, Rodney Bell-Shelton Biggs. They are a queer, BIPOC, seminarian, aspiring public theologian, owning the Christian faith of their ancestors, and called to lead radical love, care, and sanctuary movements while disrupting patriarchy and systems of oppression plaguing our world. Roddy Biggs, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, beloveds. It is great to be together. So much has changed since 1882, when the first Labor Day was celebrated in the city of New York. how are we to celebrate and honor Labor Day now in an ever demanding consumeristic market? How does our Unitarian Universalist faith call upon us to engage and respond 141 years later with love and care? In the last 3 years, beloveds, we have witnessed the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many more. We have seen those in the labor force treated as caged animals and asked to work for wages that are in no way a living wage. Just recently, we saw the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and we recognize that this will put a strain on people whose bodies can give birth as they are affected and impacted and have to continue working in a labor market for an economy and a nation that does not see their worth and dignity. We have seen protest in many parts of the country. And in some areas, these protests have been daily, demanding justice and accountability for a broken system and a broken nation that, I'm just going to name it, was never really built for those who are not cis white men. During all of this, beloveds, our Unitarian Universalist faith communities have been scrambling to address all of life's concerns with love, while also recognizing the labor involved in leading a nation, a faith, and our world into the future. With Labor Day now less than 24 hours away, let us recognize and reflect on the American labor system this morning. A few hours ago, our Unitarian Universalist Association president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, tweeted out this: "We are witnessing a growing labor movement, one that is coming alive from the bravery, the brilliance of Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, LGBTQ, undocumented immigrants, and poor and disabled communities." And she's right. We, a community of liberal faith, must do the work to build a future for generations to come. To do so, we must look to the bravery, the brilliance of Black, Indigenous, people of color, of women, of LGBTQIA, undocumented immigrants, the poor, and the disabled communities. We look to those who have been pushed to the margins and whose labor is often not recognized the most. Labor Day pays tribute to American workers' contributions and achievements, and was created by the American labor movement in the late 19th century before becoming a federal holiday in 1894. In the late 1800s, the highest rate of the highest point of the Industrial Revolution in the United States, the average American worked 12 hours a day and 7 days a week just to have a somewhat basic standard of living. Today, the average person employed full-time works 8.5 hours a day, and ideally has 1 to 2 days off. though we know that this is not the case. We know that factories, that warehouses, people are working 12, 16, if not 24 hours and are barely getting by, not being recognized for their labor, not being able to feed their families, barely able to put a roof on their head. Many Americans today are still living paycheck to paycheck. Now, many things have changed. Most are no longer working those 12, 16-hour days. But as we know, some are, and it's complicated. I know it's complicated and complex. We all know that. We might be able to say in some instances that advancements have been made. The end of slavery, the advancement of medicine, the systems of injustice that were far ignored are beginning to correct themselves as we protest, as we demand for change and justice. Injustice that we know full and well is our responsibility to change, but that we have been slow in doing for whatever reason that might be. Perhaps the reason is we don't even know where to start, or feel that if we do this one thing, that it will have a small impact, but won't change the larger system. What if, instead of looking at all of the large systematic areas, we began to address everything with one simple phrase? What if we began to address everything with the labor of faith and love? Labor of faith and love, so groundbreaking that it sees every person's inherent worth and dignity. A labor of faith and love that is brave enough to demand justice, equity, and compassion in all of our human relations, as we collectively work towards the goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice, as we seek to find just that. A labor of faith and love that is bold enough as to covenant to affirm and provide for one another as we journey towards spiritual wholeness, as we work to build, not just envision, but to build diverse, multicultural, beloved communities that accountably dismantle the system of racism, oppression in ourselves and our institutions. This approach, my friends, is what a labor of faith and love must look like. And friends, this is not going to be easy. Moving forward, we will need to find new ways of doing things that we have always done. Creating a nation where future generations can be proud of, reshaping our lives for their future lives. By no stretch of the imagination is this easy. I know I've said it's not easy many times, but it's not. It could be indeed quite hard. However, friends, this is the only way forward. with many paths to reaching the envisioned community, the envisioned labor market, the envisioned worth and dignity of all that we seek to know and name. The late, great civil rights icon and congressman John Lewis once said this, and I invite you to reflect on these words as you hear them. What are the words of John Lewis calling us to do this Labor Day? John Lewis spoke, "Take a long, hard look down the road. You will have to travel once you have made a commitment to work for change. Now, know that this transformation will not happen right away. Change often takes time. It rarely happens all at once. We don't know how history will play itself out in our movement, in any movement. When we are getting arrested, waiting in jail, standing in unmovable lines on the courthouse steps, we didn't know what would happen, but we knew it had to happen. Remember, friends, that the idea of freedom is not a state. It is an act. It is not some enhanced, enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is a continuous action that we all must take for each generation to do its part to create an even more fair and just society. So, beloveds, what work are we being called to do? How are we being called to shape, to redefine, re-envision the American labor system this Labor Day and all of the days to come? I don't have answers for you. I wish I did. I wish there was a magic wand that could be waved, that could fix all of the injustices, all of the labor crisis, that could make it to where every single family had enough to feed their families, where we no longer had to work for wages that were not a living wage. But no such magic wand exists. So what is it going to take? Beloveds, it is going to take every single one of us doing our part to change a system that isn't working, and one that perhaps never really worked. We only got by. I don't know about you, beloved, but I'm tired of just getting by. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm tired of my rent being a third, if not half, of my paycheck. And something has got to change. We all know it. So what role are you going to take in being a part of that change this Labor Day and all the days to come? I invite you to move through each day with amazing grace, profound accountability, to be brave and bold in an ever so tired world that needs the life-saving messages of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Beloveds, together and only together will we begin to reshape the American labor system and build a nation in which we can be proud of, and one that we can indeed call our own. So, beloveds, happy Labor Day. May we together be the ones that make it so. Blessed be, and amen.
For all that is our life, we sing and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which will serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
The Sunday offering is an expression of the generosity that makes our congregational life possible. As Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg writes, generosity is characterized by the inner quality of letting go or relinquishing. Being able to let go, to give up, to renounce, to give generously, these capacities spring from the same source within us. When we practice generosity, we open to all of these liberating qualities simultaneously. Please text your donation to Chalice. If you haven't texted a donation before, know that once you text the amount, you'll get a reply with a link to follow to enter your credit card information. If you have already entered this information previously when you donated, you won't need to enter it again. If your Sunday donation is meant to be part of your pledge payment, please be sure to indicate pledge after the dollar amount. The phone number for text donations will be on the screen in a moment. Please give generously. please join in dedicating our offering with words of affirmation. At Chalice UU congregation, love is at the center of everything we do.
Beloveds, won't you join me in prayer this morning? Great Spirit of life and love, source of divine wisdom, known by many and no names at all, that great presence which I, for myself, know and name as God, who you might call any other name, be present with us this morning. Be present in our lives as we work to not only survive, but to thrive, to live, to know what justice looks like. Be present in our lives as we continue to build the bonds of solidarity, strengthened only by our courage, our friendship, and our love. Be present in our hands as we do the work of justice, as we seek out hope, and as we liberate others. All of this we pray. All of this and more unnamed we pray. May we be the ones to make it ever so. Ashe, and blessed be.
Please rise. Step by step, the longest march can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. And the water turn a mill, singly none.
Beloveds, it has been great to be together. For those in the chapel and those joining across time and space online. After our closing song, please return to your seats for announcements. May we be the ones to do the work that must be done. There are so many ways that we can start, but perhaps the best way forward now is to start with love. Start with love, for that is the seed. Start with love as we journey forwards, as we step, as we march, as we roll through the streets, being the ones to use our hands to shape the work of justice. May you go in peace and love. May you remember this, beloveds. You are worthy. You have dignity. The world needs you, and the world needs your liberating ministry. It is no longer enough just to survive, for the world needs you to thrive. Go in peace and love.
I'd like to just acknowledge that June Bailey was our worship assistant this morning. I realized I'd omitted that, and I see that we've been joined by Stuart also on the drums this morning, so I want to acknowledge that. And of course, this morning, we'd like to remind our online folks that coffee hour is in the same Zoom room as the service, so that if you'd like to chat, just stay there. Do not exit the Zoom meeting, and you will be in coffee hour. And for our in-person congregants, please enjoy social hour with us out on the courtyard, where the masks are optional. Or in the spirit of caring, you could take your refreshment into the cool blue room and have a visit with our online congregants. Many are unable to attend in person and would enjoy the fellowship of your company. As usual, remember that children younger than 5 years old may not yet be fully vaccinated, and there they are out there. So take care around them. Coffee and refreshments are waiting for you on the far side of the courtyard by the hub kitchen, so go please enjoy.